I'd like to call this meeting of the Colerain Township Community Improvement Corporation to order. It is 5:30 in the afternoon on Tuesday, October 9th. Jeff, if you would call the roll.
Very good. President Unger?
Here.
Vice President Rajagopal?
Here.
Trustee Insko?
Present.
Mrs. LeCount?
Here.
Jeff Mills is here. Emily Randolph?
Here.
Stephanie Wright?
Here.
All are present.
Thank you. I'm going to let you run the next
Very
part
good.
of the meeting.
All right.
Can everybody hear everybody's microphone okay?
Can you hear me out there? Yeah. Very good. Okay. All right. We just a very brief meeting this evening. The first item is approval of minutes. We have two minutes to approve. The first item as listed on the agenda is July 10th, 2018. The agenda minutes were included in the agenda packet. Is there a motion to?
Yeah, I'll make the motion.
Okay, Mr. Insko makes a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on the minutes of July 10th?
Thank you for the corrections.
Okay. Aside from that, anything else? Hearing none, we'll call the roll. Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Mr. Insko?
Aye.
Ms. LeCount?
Aye.
Mr. Mills votes aye. Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Ms. Randolph?
Aye.
Ms. Wright?
Aye.
Very good. Minutes are approved from July 10th. The next item is the approval of minutes from April 10th, 2018. Minutes were included in your packet. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Mr. Insko makes a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Wright makes the second. Is there any discussion? Okay. Seeing none. Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Mr. Insko?
Aye.
Ms. LeCount?
Aye.
I vote aye. Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mrs. Randolph?
Aye.
Mrs. Wright?
Aye.
Very good. The minutes from April 10th are included, or approved. Okay, we have two items of new business this afternoon. The first item is a motion to grant vacant lot to yard program application and authorize executive director to execute all documents necessary to transfer 9184 Pippin Road to Lawrence and Crystalline Turney for the price of $1,000. You'll recall that we created this program, the Vacant Lot to Side Yard Program, in an effort to reduce blight in residential neighborhoods. There are many properties throughout the township that have been demolished several years ago with the Moving Ohio Forward program. Since that time, many of those properties that were demolished have gone into tax foreclosure, and we've been able to work with the Port Authority to get a hold of those properties. They have a land bank, and they're able to transition properties that are in tax foreclosure to municipalities if they want them. And our goal is with this program is to transition vacant properties to neighboring owners who will take care of them, so that the township doesn't have to maintain them, and that they go to a loving home. The program guidelines are pretty clear about eligibility and the terms of purchase and sale. We purchased this property from the land bank for $1,000, and the recommendation is to grant authorization to the executive director to execute a purchase and sale contract and to transfer the property for that same price, $1,000. So is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yes, I have a question about that parcel of property. We purchased it approximately 11 months ago, and since then we've been paying a monthly water bill on that property. It's been delinquent. It's now up to date. I believe it's roughly $78 a month. And I was wondering why the CIC did not turn off the water to that property, why we incurred an additional expense on that.
I believe that once you have an active water tap with the city of Cincinnati, you have to pay that minimum charge.
That's incorrect, Mr. Unger. I actually called Greater Cincinnati Waterworks, and it costs $0 to fill out an application to have the water turned off at that site. The only problem you can run into with that is that if the property were to be redeveloped again, it would cost $3,000 for that to be turned back on. So I was wondering why we incurred this expense.
When did you find out about this expense?
Within the past 2 weeks.
when you find something like that, if no one else catches it, please forward it to everyone so that we can fix it immediately. I don't care how long it took, but once we identify a problem, let's fix it.
I think
lots of people missed it apparently. I don't know.
And the action that we're taking tonight will resolve that for sure.
So we're actually taking a loss on the property that we purchased, right? We purchased it for $1,000. We've spent $82 in water fees that were unnecessary. Is that correct?
I would say $82 is a well spent money to get this property demolished and transition to somebody that will take care of it. So yeah, I guess we did lose, if you want to call it losing, $82. But
additionally, we have spent some township resources maintaining the property, so mowing it and keeping it.
Which we won't have to pay anymore, so that'll be a savings.
Hopefully they'll take care of it.
We got bigger problems if they don't maintain it after we.
In my experience, and thank you for pointing out that to have that service restored would be $3,000. In my experience with Cincinnati Waterworks, you don't want to put that on a new owner. If Crystalline and her husband would not have taken on that property, that would have made it a lot more difficult for us to sell if we would not have kept the water active.
But that wasn't the intent of the property, was not to be resold. The property intent was to be a vacant to land yard side program, not for development.
I did look it up, and it appears to be, I looked at the aerial view of it, it looks like it's right at an intersection.
yes.
There was a home there previously.
Yeah.
Right, and the last owner apparently couldn't pay for it either. So I'm glad that, and I happen to know Crystalline Turney. I believe she was the principal at Colerain High School that we hired when I was on the school board, and I'm confident that her and her husband will take care of the property.
Yeah, I think this is a huge win, and I think that this is sort of a case study in how the CIC can be helpful in taking bad properties and making a difference.
This is our first one, right? Doing this? So yeah, there's going to be bumps and bruises along the way. So for future reference, when we get identify a lot that could be a potential for something like this, let's jump on it and make sure we get the water cut off and maintained as usual, and any type of insurance or whatever else we need. So.
Hey, Mr. Insko, I'm glad you brought that up. I do know this is a new CIC board with some members. I did bring that exact issue up to our previous administrator, that it has happened before on properties on John Rose and Banning Avenue. We paid water bills on properties. So it does seem to be a little bit of a habit, so I would like to see that.
Yeah. Yeah, the second anyone...
Excuse me, I don't know if we agreed to not pay that, because the $3,000 investment would probably turn this buyer away.
Yeah.
So I think we need to be careful what we define, and maybe we do that at a later meeting and come together.
Yeah, when it makes sense, we should turn it off, and when it doesn't make sense, the carrying cost of $7 a month is not going to break the bank, and we got to keep the bigger picture in mind.
7 or 7D?
$7
a month.
I thought you said 70.
$7.
You're saying 70 total. 70.
Correct.
Okay,
$7.
I misheard that.
$77
Thank
brought
you.
it up
Did the township pay for the demolition on that property some time ago?
We split it 50-50 with the Port Authority through the Moving Ohio Forward program, and then the total cost was assessed to the property. But in instances like this one, where nobody wanted to purchase it, it goes into tax foreclosure, and then nobody gets to collect it. And actually, this had cycled all the way down to the lowest dregs of vacant property, which is the forfeited land sale. And it's at that point where organizations that just accumulate random properties to sit on start to get their hands on these things, and they are notorious about not maintaining these properties. And so we were able to save it from that downward spiral through our partnership with the Land Bank, the Port Authority, and now the fact that we paid the $7 a month to keep the water on.
Do we have anything else in the pipeline for the program, looking down the road, that anyone's identified?
Yeah, every year the land bank sort of identifies parcels that are have the potential to be acquired, and if it's strategic, we say, hey, that one looks like we could probably find a buyer for, but we're not going to take on properties that are just going to sit on our books. We don't want to do that.
And as we're still in discussion, I would solicit your advice on, I happen to know the house down at the bottom of Sheed Road has been another property, and it probably still has the water turned on to it. We do not possess it yet, but if we shut off that house, the owner passed away 2.5 years ago, the grass grew, it became vacant, it became overrun with trash. I think that was recently transferred to the Hamilton County.
So
Did the Port Authority get that one? So I would ask you, what should we do with the water? You're a member of this board. What would you recommend?
Well, I think it depends on the individual property. The property that we're talking about at 9184 Pippin Road was purchased with the intent of being a side yard lot.
Yeah, it wasn't gonna
Not
be
for
rebuilt.
development.
Yeah.
So I believe the home that you're referring to on Sheed Road,
It's
you
right
would
at the bottom
prefer to
of
have
things.
someone else to build on that or develop that land.
I would agree
So it
with
would be not effective to have the water cut off for that because it would be an occurring expense that a new owner might not want to take on. But with the property at 9184 Pippin, I believe it should have been discontinued and cut off.
So
when
we should
purchased it.
evaluate them, and I actually had a resident of the township suggest to me, because that house is in a tax arrearage, why doesn't the county or the township acquire that so they can straighten out the bottom of Gaines Road a little bit so that you don't have such a blind left turn onto eastbound Sheed? And so if that's going to happen, then we should probably get the water cut off. So I guess my point is, it's an individual house per house decision if you want to get the
agree with
water,
that 100%.
water turned off. So
Great.
But Sheed Road is a county road. We're going to talk to the county engineer.
Yep.
right, and I had suggested that to Jeff a couple weeks ago because I noticed there's a dumpster back in the driveway, and there's some activity down there after there was no activity for quite a while. So I guess
good.
for the future of this board, and then thank you for bringing it up, Stephanie, but it's probably a good idea to evaluate those on a parcel by parcel situation. So we've had that that house went into the land bank 11 months ago, straighten out the
I
date
don't
again.
I don't remember when we acquired it, but
September 2017.
there we go. Great. So yeah, September 2017. Yeah, and we were testing this idea as to whether or not we would be able to set up a program that would successfully transition a property from the forfeited land sale and going into the hands of a random parcel acquirer into the hands of somebody that will care for it. And I think that we've very successfully done that. So I'm pretty excited about the future of this program. And there's a motion and second. Is there any more discussion on the topic?
Are we discussing the financials or just that specific topic?
The motion on the floor is to grant a vacant lot to yard program application and authorize the executive director to execute all documents necessary to transfer 9184 Pippin Road to Lawrence and Christy Lynn Turney for the price of $1,000.
Okay, do we need to make a motion that someone notifies the Greater Cincinnati Water Works Company that we no longer own that property?
Not right now because there's a motion on the floor.
Okay.
Okay. So is there any further discussion?
I'm prepared to vote.
All right. Then we'll call the question. Mr. Unger.
Aye.
Mr. Insko.
Aye.
Ms. LeCount.
Aye.
I vote aye. Mr. Rajagopal.
Aye.
Mrs. Randolph.
Aye.
Mrs. Wright.
Aye.
Very good. The next item on the agenda is acceptance of the 2018 third quarter financials. They were included in the agenda packet. Ms. Randolph, would you like to give us a overview?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mills. The motion is to accept the 2018 third quarter financials. The fund balance in the CIC as of September 30th is $38,360.97. That does include the transactions that have occurred in July, August, and September, which was presented before you in your packet. The pending expense for fourth quarter will be the payment of audit fees and check supplies. Both of those are totaling $251.59. So if there's no further discussion, then I would ask for the motion to be accepted.
Is there a motion?
Discussion?
After our motion is made.
First, we have to get it to the floor.
Yep.
Right.
Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion then.
Okay, Mr. Insko, is there a second?
I will second it to bring it to the floor for discussion.
Okay, Mr. Unger, is there any, so a motion's been made and seconded, is there any discussion? Ms.
Yes,
Wright?
thank you, Mr. Mills. I looked over that statement, and a couple of things just jumped right out at me. The CIC has paid audit fees since the month of May in the excess of $3,833 to the Ohio State Auditor. Is that an absorbent amount of money for our CIC to be audited?
No, we are audited biannually, so every other year we'll incur those expenses.
But the previous time we were audited, it was $1,750. Can you explain to me why we're paying almost, $2,000 more for the same audit?
I cannot.
Well, I believe that it's based on hours, and our previous audit that we had that cost $1,750, the Ohio State audit charged us for 42 hours. This audit, we had 93 hours in auditing fees. That seems like an awful lot of time. I mean, it's over 2 weeks of audit on our finances. Does that raise a red flag for
Was there a
anyone?
lot of questions, additional questions asked this time, or?
What you'd have to talk to them. I would, have you tried calling the auditor's office?
Yes, I have.
What was their response?
That the audit will be released soon.
Very good. I guess that's the answer. The amount of time that they take to do the audit is kind of out of our hands. I don't know. It's what they charge. It's the Ohio State auditor. So.
Okay, I was just making a comparison between the last audit and this audit, and it was doubled in
What was the date on that
expense.
other one, Stephanie?
I'm sorry?
What was the date on the previous one?
It was done for the fiscal year ending 2014, 2015. We do it biannually, and that was for $1,700. In addition to that fee that we're paying to the Ohio State Auditor, we also paid a financial records to be overlooked by a third party, Heebs Collins and Associate, for the amount of $1,500. And I was wondering why amounts of money and things like that aren't put before the board for their approval, that they're just done on their own. Do we not have
That
any
was
input?
actually part of second quarter, so it was already reviewed, and Mr. Mills, as the CIC administrator, executive director, sorry, thank you, does approve the expenses before the check is signed.
So the board really has no say in what, or we don't have any prior knowledge to anything that's being spent?
Well, there is going to be CPA expenses every year to prepare the financial statements. But no, I think as a board collectively, there's not really that decision. There's the known expenses that we know about. That is our CPA, our biannual audit fees, any land acquisitions that may come to you. You know, those would be voted on. There's legal ads. It's
And I
pretty
think
much
we've appointed Jeff Mills to as our
monitor
director
that.
to make those
Okay, because
decisions.
just in the previous meetings, those things had been brought before the board for their approval. So, okay.
And it really depends. You know, with us meeting quarterly, it depends on when those hit. So,
I have a question about CIC. Historically, it was established, CIC.
I believe in either 2013 or 14. I wasn't part of the then.
I have two full questions. Since any corporation is we established to make money, you know, thing is, when they established corporation, the township did this to make money for the township.
No. So this is a not-for-profit
More like-
corporation.
More like investment. I see there's a lot of expenses going on. Is it outweighs the money we're getting?
So it's an interesting question. We don't exist to make money. So our mission is to improve Colerain Township. In fact, to proactively promote economic development by promoting business expansion and retention, and to improve the quality of life in Colerain Township. So it has nothing to do with making money, but we do have expenses that we have to pay for, like auditing, right? And from time to time, insurance and checks and things like that. But no, right now we have. I mean, you see every time we get together, you'll see that we have a balance in our bank account right now. As of 8/31, that balance was $39,303.97, and so we're able to do with the CIC is things like the vacant lot to side yard program, which improves the health of the township.
And to date, there's only been 12 financial transactions for the year. So that's not many.
So the people ask me, it outweighs a lot of spending on the CIC.
No.
No.
Nope. No, we spent, so for example, this Pippin Road transaction is a good case study. We spent $1,000, and then, as Stephanie pointed out, we spent $7 a month for 11 months to preserve the option of it being transitioned to maybe a single-family house or whatever, and then we were going to sell it for $1,000. So the net transaction costs of all of that is, $87 or something. That's my opinion is that that's a small price to pay for transitioning a very high visibility parcel from dilapidation and blight into the caring hands of somebody that is going to care for it into the future.
I would.
The average expense we spend on the CIC would be like somewhere from $2,000 to $4,000. This cycle we spent close to about $4,000.
We're going to have
The
cycles where we
year
don't spend
we've
anything.
spent outside of the $360,000 loan repayment, a little over $7,000 for the year.
Just depends on what's going on.
And every transaction is brought to you all, so there's no transaction that you don't know about or see. I mean, it's all every quarter we have we've got these bank reconciliation statements, and it has the bank balance, the book balance, and then the bank balance, and then what transactions transpired in each month, and then the adjusted bank balance as of the end of the period. So it's incredibly transparent, and anybody that wants to know what we're spending money on can look there, and that's all available at colerain.org.
Jeff, I would guess that pending the affirmative vote on motion 3A, which was the motion to grant that, had that motion failed, which could have happened, then at least right now would be the time to tell them to cut the water off. Because until that sale was finalized, which is where we're at,
Exactly.
I'm glad we still had water going to the parcel as of yesterday, because if for some reason that would have failed and somebody would have come along, Habitat for Humanity or somebody wanted to put a house there on a lot,
But
that
Mr.
would
Unger,
have.
that's not the intent of the vacant yard lot program. Is that correct, Mr.
I'm just
Mills?
saying, if this motion would have failed
Yeah.
tonight, then we would have a lot where the water service would have
That's
been
fair.
cut off.
Yeah, and it's a
Fair observation.
Yeah, so the point of leaving the water on there was to preserve our options, and it's a $7 a month carrying cost to preserve the option. Maybe the folks would have said, you know what, we're going to move the Turney family. Maybe they said, we don't really want that. We don't want to cut more grass. Then we would have been in a pickle because we would have disconnected the service, and now we'd be trying to market that property, which is still at a very high visibility intersection of Compton and Pippin, and we would be at a disadvantage because there's an extra $3,000 of development costs in reestablishing water. So the fact that we spent $7 a month for 11 months is
I'm okay with that.
And I realize we might.
Aware that bill was going, that we had a water bill for that length of time?
Was I aware of it? Yeah, I mean, we paid it, right?
Right. We were not aware. We were not getting the bills, and then we received one for $70-some, and that's.
And then we paid it.
We paid it,
Right.
brought it forward, and.
So anyway, that's the point. We have a motion on the floor to accept the 2018 third quarter financials. It's been seconded. There's been discussion. Is there any
I
further
have one
discussion?
more question about that.
Mrs. Wright?
Yes, I'd like to ask about the Highland insurance policy that the CIC recently purchased for $500, Mr. Mills. Could you, I know you shared it with me in an email, but could you share it with everyone else about what this $500 coverage is for?
Sure. It's for property and liability insurance for the Duke parcels. It's the parcels that are part of the Duke project. So there will be a time, it is anticipated, that the township will take ownership of those the Fireside Motel parcel, and will do demolition of that site. And so I called our property and liability insurer and asked for an endorsement on our insurance policy to cover the liability of that that's related to that building, and the cost of that was $500.
So just that building, 7560, is the only piece of property that you insured for the additional $500?
I feel like you're teeing up a gotcha moment here, Mrs. Wright. So I don't.
I'm asking you why the township spent $500 on property that we don't even own yet.
Because it is anticipated that when we execute the purchase and sale agreements that this board authorized at the last meeting, that we will own that, and at that point in time, I would like to be able to move swiftly and not be waiting on our insurance to execute the deal. So I did that.
And that would be within your rights as the administrator or the executive director of the CIC to make those decisions without the board's approval or knowledge.
You all gave me the authorization to execute a purchase and sale agreement, and so when the time comes, I anticipate I will do that. And it's my job to make sure that we are protected from any kind of liability, and so I bought insurance.
On property that the township already has insured, because we do not own the, we own the property that is now the township, whatever, police center there. The Colerain Township owns that, the trustees own that, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so that would be insured underneath the Colerain Township policy.
So what I asked for was an endorsement that I showed them the area that was going to be included in the Duke project, and I said to our insurer, I would like to make sure that the CIC and the township are covered from anything that could happen in terms of liability as we demolish that building. And they provided me with an endorsement to our existing property and liability insurance. I think that that's a rational thing to ask for, pay for, buy, and do. So I did
Is that the insurance is under the CIC or under the township?
The CIC is insured, and the township is insured.
But the Highland policy that you're covering that insurance under is not CIC, it belongs to the township, is that correct?
Without having this in front of me or without knowing that
I asked you
this
for
was
the
gonna,
policy and you didn't give it to me.
I don't.
Okay. All right, well, I have a
I
problem
gave
with-
you the endorsement. You asked me for what we paid for, $500, and I sent you a copy of the endorsement. Right. So I gave you everything.
paperwork that says we paid for this, and it's not for the CIC, it's for Colerain Township, and it's addressed to Dan Malloy.
Okay.
We can fix the address.
Yeah.
It's easy.
Thanks for bringing that to my attention, Mrs. Wright.
an easy
Okay.
fix.
Was there anything else for discussion on this
I would
topic?
just add that if something would happen to that building down there, which I keep my house insured 24/7, and the fireside current owner of record just thought, I'm not fixing it, and all of a sudden we'd have a half burned out building or whatever calamity happened to it. So I, just speaking as one of the members here, I would prefer to have it insured.
We don't own it.
Well, once we do, then we'll be covered.
We already have the insurance, but we don't own the property, Mr. Unger.
Right, but I just assume, I've got 3 life insurance policies, I've got fire policies, I'm big on having insurance.
I just did it on my car. I got car insurance,
You
even though
own
the
your
car
car.
isn't transferred into my name yet.
You
So
own-
not yet. But I've got insurance so that I can take it to get it.
Yeah. And when we do
I've got
purchase it,
another car that I have insured that I don't drive, but it's a car that I have that I don't drive much, but I've always kept insurance on everything.
I mean, we would get insurance on it. Okay, so there has been discussion on the acceptance of the financial statements from the third quarter, which I will add is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 transactions. There's only 5 transactions in the last 3 months. So is there any further discussion on those 5 transactions?
Mine.
Okay, seeing none, we'll call the roll. Mr. Unger.
Aye?
Mr. Insko.
Aye.
Mrs. LeCount.
Aye.
I vote aye. Mr. Rajagopal.
Aye.
Mrs. Randolph.
Aye.
Mrs. Wright.
Nay.
Very good. Motion carries. All right, and that is all the business we have on our agenda. We have 2 minutes until our next meeting. Is there anything else for the board?
Just a motion, I'll make a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a
I'll
second?
second the motion for adjournment.
Very good.
Motion and seconded.
Excellent. Mr. Unger?
Aye?
Mr. Insko?
Just want to welcome back Jim Acton. It's good to see you out there, Jim. And with that, aye.
All right. Mrs. LeCount?
Aye.
I vote aye. Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mrs. Randolph?
Aye.
And Mrs. Wright?
Aye.
Very good. Thank you.